Hi, everybody. Dave Clark from InspectCheck-net. Today we had a request for a split panel, and some home inspectors were wondering, is that what we call it, a split or a dual panel? I call it a split panel, and that simply means that there's two sections to that panel. Before, and if you look back in time, there were a lot of those out there. We know Federal had a lot of them, that was, I think, and you don't quote me on this, part of the reason for that code or standard that had 6 hand movements, right, or 6 breakers to turn off all the power. And I think the reason for that is because usually in the upper half, that's what they had, sometimes more if they added them. The problem is, even if you turned off all 6 of those, there was still power to the upper part of that panel. So without further ado, let's take a look at a split panel. Let me tell you how I advise my client. I'm going to share my screen with you. There you go. And so I'll make that a little bit larger. And yes, it's a Federal just because. And it's a main service split panel. Okay, so why do they call it split? Very simple, is that the main service conductors, let me get some markings going here. Okay, main service conductors, we'll use a red coming in right here, we'll say, and a black. I'm close to the area. I know it's cut off. It's really above there, but anyway, and here's the black coming in over here, and red over here on this side. These are main service conductors, and what they're doing is, and I'll make a box around this. They are energizing the top half of this panel right to here. So the problem with it is, that they say, well, you can have up to 6 disconnects or 6 hand movements. And by the way, that standard or code, whatever you want to call it, has been updated to say that that's really no longer acceptable. We're not going to get into grandfathering, but you couldn't install a new or an updated split panel. They're not acceptable anymore. So there's 2. These are all double pole. If by some chance, so we technically are, with the grandfathered code or standard in compliance. If one of these double pole breakers were single throw, 120 volt breakers or minis or whatever you want to call them, they would be unacceptable because that would bring us to 7. All right, again, so we're not going to worry about grandfathering. But basically, this is the 240 volt that livens up, and we'll use red going forward, livens up the bottom part of the panel, right here by these conductors. And they go in to here. So this area, there's no power here. Okay, but there is here. Let me bring that down a little bit. So then the red part that's livened up, that's livened up by this wire, is supplied here. So if I threw this breaker, there'd be no power down here, right? But there would still be power up here. So it's important to note that many times these are labeled main. Sometimes you see main, 2 or 3 mains, very confusing. And that's part of the reason why they're not safe. If I were to tell my partner or whatever, go downstairs and, shut off the main, and they would go down and shut the main off because I'm going to do some wiring, but I really was going to do wiring up here. They might turn this off, so the bottom half is not energized, but the top still would be. The other part of the problem is if I'm working in this panel, no matter, even if I turn these off, they're still hot, right? These would not be, but these are still hot, and it could be very dangerous. So that standard has been changed to say that there should be just 1 main service disconnect, and I agree with that. There are instances where that's not always the case, but having these 6 throws anymore is really not accepted. Having split panels like this are not accepted. I haven't used them in many years, I think since the 80s, and more than likely that panel should be updated anyway. Now this panel is a Federal on top of it. It's also a split panel, so we are going to advise our client that this panel needs to be updated. Okay, I don't care if it's wired properly, if the amperage is right, it's in good condition. I'm always going to recommend that a split panel is updated. You may agree with that or not. And so how would I do that? Let's see. let's go there and take a look. So in this case, I'm going to go to, where am I? I think I'm already in electric section. That's roof section. I'm going to go to electric section. Real simple, right? The clients don't need to, I mean, you could tell them about a split panel and explain everything I just explained to you. And that's going to mean very little or nothing to them. Again, we don't want them doing any of the work. You know, sometimes I think home inspectors get so far into the weeds, and what we want to know is, what do we need to do? Okay, and we're going to tell them it's not safe. So I'm going to come over to, well, electric supply. We could fill that out as normal. Main service, disconnect, we could fill that out as normal, but actually we wouldn't. So let me cut that off. So we're going to put multiple main service disconnects. There's multiple main service disconnects. Consult with your home inspector. Okay, and I'm just going to write in here, see below. Oops. I might put it in caps. See below, because I'm going to say, nah, consulting with me. That's great when you consult. I like things in writing. We're going to go to service panels. Very simple. Where's that one? That happened to be in the basement. Okay, and we're going to just move on down. There's circuit breakers. I already checked that from a previous training that I was doing. No sub panel in this one. And we're going to say, we're not going to have to worry about, you know, if the connections are satisfactory or if the amperage is right, you know, multiple lugging. I'm not going to really get into all that. And you could, there's nothing wrong with putting all those things down, but really we've got a catch-all down here for you. And we're going to put the main panel should be updated. Not could be, should be. All right. So the service panel noted is outdated by today's standards and electrical demands. Recommend a licensed electrician update. And in this case, I had written Pushmatic, because if you remember, I was doing a training on Pushmatic. Update the older federal Pacific split service panel. Any electrician that sees that is going to say, mark that complete, goes in. And we could look, we could do this too. We could easily just add a picture too. If we want to add a picture, I don't know if you really need to. Again, your client wants to know what to do, and we just told them. So it should be updated. Not could be, not maybe. It should be updated. And in that case, you know, when you start going down to the wiring, we're going to definitely see, you know, probably copper clad, but we're definitely going to see a lot of areas that are not grounded improperly, reverse polarity possibly. But the biggest thing will be open grounds, definitely for sure, probably two-prong receptacles. So when we can continue to advise them further to say, not only does that panel need to be updated, but you're also going to probably have to do some branch circuit wiring because it's older. So someone had asked me how I report on a split panel. And really their question was, what about if the split panel is in great shape? Let's say it's not a federal, because other companies made them too. I just figured I'd throw that in there, but I have pictures of other ones that are maybe more modern and are wired properly. The amperage is okay. You know, nothing's double lugged. The grounds, you know, everything's good. It's grounded. It's all that. I still personally don't like them. So that would be less money if everything is good. They really don't have to do any branch circuit wiring. But what they would have to do is just put a new panel. And you may even be able to use the main service cable. Depends on what the condition of that is. But as far as I'm concerned, if I see a split panel, I'm going to recommend that's updated. Whether they do it or not, it's up to them. And I'm going to tell them, you know, it could be safe, and explain to them that just what I explained to you, that if that says main, it's really just not the main. It's really for the lower part of that panel. And the upper is still going to be energized always. There's really no way to, you know, unless you pull the meter channel, it's always going to have power going to it. So that's the way I would advise them. So I hope you found this helpful. Always open to your comments down below. Please subscribe to our channel, and you're going to get these short trainings. You'll be the first one to get them. And we're doing a lot of them. We've got a lot of content over the last 30 years. I just enjoy sharing this with everybody, giving you my way of doing it, not necessarily the right way or the only way, but just my way. So please subscribe. You can always check out homeinspectortrainingonline.com. There'll be some more links in there, also links to our blogs and things like that that might help you out. So until next time, have a great day.